Hey everybody, Jerome Maldonado. So sitting here kind of running through a lot of stuff that we've been talking about. I just got back from California, flew into Ontario, met with a lot of the municipal leaders, the mayor, some folks in the building department, the building manager, the development planners and stuff up in the desert over by Palm Springs. And one of the things that came up was how to create a green energy city and implement this into one specific area of town and then have it grow in regards to natural resources, utilizing solar energy, and also utilizing the growth economically of the cannabis industry. So doing distilleries and canneries in relation to the cannabis industry, which I've never been a part of before, and so is new in relation to city development and even being brought up by municipal leaders in certain municipalities. And so the reason I bring this up to you guys today is because of the importance behind staying current with trending topics and economic subjects, right? And so economically right now, there's two things specifically that are making the largest traction in the world. One of them is cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, in all of the coin-based money and electronic currencies. And then the second is the the legalization of marijuana. So I know that here in New Mexico, it's been a big topic of conversation since we just got legalized as one of the states, of very few states across the United States that are fully legalized to build out dispensaries, to grow, and so forth. California being another state that has allowed that. Texas not allowing it. A lot of people are migrating in from West Texas, coming into New Mexico to take advantage of the cannabis industry. Well, if you take a look, let's say at a market sector like Denver, Colorado, or Colorado in general, not just Denver, but all of Colorado, you take a look at the economic growth that the marijuana industry has facilitated there. It's absolutely incredible the amount of economic growth and industry that it's brought to Colorado. And so the housing market, inflation in Colorado over the last decade has been astronomical, and what has stabilized that is the growth of marijuana. And so we look at the expansion of this, right, federally, what type of regulations by the Food and Drug Administration are going to be enhanced and implemented over the course of time. And so it's really important that if you're in the real estate sector to understand the importance of pivoting and staying current with market trends. We talked about NFTs about a week or two ago. Ramez and I were educating people in regards to NFTs and how they'll be utilized in real estate over the course of time. And now we sit back and we look at cryptocurrency. And when you talk about cryptocurrency and electronic currencies like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and others, you sit back, and if you had asked me 2 years ago, there was so much controversy in relation to cryptocurrency and electronic currencies that I sat back and said, it's not really a topic of conversation. So what I did, there's a gentleman named Nick, cool guy, worked for Ty, and he goes, Jerome, you got to get involved. And he was always talking about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. And so I said, look, Nick, I'm interested in just like having some because I would hate not to have any at all. And so I threw him a bone. I go, just give me like 10 grand worth. Well, I'll tell you, I filed this little slip that has my codes. I downloaded the app that I never set up. And I'm assuming that it's worth someplace in the neighborhood of about $30,000 to $40,000 right now. With a $10,000 investment, might be worth more, might be worth slightly less. But regardless, I own a tiny bit of it, not as much in comparison to what we own elsewhere. But one of the big things is I've been educating myself over the last 2 years. And over the last few months, it has really become a topic of conversation, not just with me, but other financially affluent professionals. And so what's really cool is I take people like Todd Alt, who his company just went public, went in excess of $1 billion on the offering date, went down slightly, but he's over in Dubai right now, flew all the way out to Dubai with as busy and as much stuff as he has going on with his companies here in the States, to go to a crypto convention and meet with some of the leaders in Dubai in relation to investments, real estate, and cryptocurrency, and the movement of it nationwide. One of the reasons that people really like cryptocurrency, and that I'm learning about, is you can move and allocate funds quickly. So like you take a look at like millennials, right? And the millennials get a bad rap for being lazy sometimes. Sorry, millennials. And I've hired some, right? They just have more of a creative way of doing things with less effort. So is it right? Is it wrong? Well, I'll tell you, it's the new age. And for those of us who are old school and have pounded our heads against the wall doing things the hard way, the long way in prior years, a lot of that's coming to an end. Things are becoming simpler, more electronic, right here from your phones, and you can transfer money, you can do banking, you can do investments in real time, almost monetarily, where it just happens instantaneously. Where before, which I still do this, and I'm even embarrassed to say that they have an offering, and we'll sit back and say, okay, we need to wire in funds for title to buy real estate, or we need to wire in funds to do an investment on an angel investment with Pier 1 Imports, or whatever it might be. And I'm sitting back going, okay, I take a screenshot of my wire transfer. I'm going to go to the bank. I'm going to fill out the paperwork. I'm going to hand it to the clerk. The clerk's going to submit it. Oh, it's afternoon today, or it's after 3 o'clock, so it's too late. We won't be able to transfer the money until tomorrow, but tomorrow morning, you'll get your wire transfer out. Meanwhile, the crypto people sit here on their phones. They open up their app, they click in, and they go in, and boom, in like less than 2-3 minutes, it's done. It's transferred, right? And it's the new era. I couldn't imagine that a crypto guy is going to go down and go through that pain in the ass hassle, because wire transfers, I've always hated them. I still do, and I still do it old school. So it isn't until just recent months that I sit back and I set up my crypto apps now, and I'm sitting back. I don't have a ton of money in them, so I don't utilize them like the crypto professionals. But what I'm telling people is that it is real, and it's not going anywhere. When you have the world's most affluent professionals in the crypto space, and electronic currencies are becoming real and alive. I was just at a gas station last week, and I went in to the gas station to pick up some bottled waters, and on the side of the regular ATM machine is a Bitcoin ATM machine. And I was like, holy shit, they have Bitcoin ATM machines in gas stations now everywhere. And since I've noticed that first one, now I've noticed over a dozen of them in locations that I go in regularly. And it's like new to me to say, holy shit, they have crypto ATM machines there. So when companies are investing millions of dollars into developing machines to put into gas stations, to put into restaurants, to put into other places, understand that it is not going anyplace, and it's going to be devastating to those who don't pay attention to what I'm saying and don't implement over the course of time. And what I talk really to you about is being open-minded to the diversification and world changes. Look, when I started in business in the 90s, there wasn't anything called the internet, and just as complicated as it was for me to get acclimated to emailing, it also helped my life become simpler. And so I say that now, and people watch this and go, that's ridiculous, Jerome. Like, emails have been around forever, since dinosaurs, right? Well, let me tell you, the internet wasn't created until 1996. And ladies and gentlemen, I was in college in the early 90s. We didn't have emails. So when I had went through my entrepreneur endeavor for 4 years and then came back to finish up my degree in 1998, and the teacher handed out a syllabus and a sheet for our email addresses, I left mine blank because I didn't have an email in 1998. I opened up my construction company with no email whatsoever, and I used to run estimates around or stick them in the mailbox with stamps on them, and I'd run around with a book of stamps. And I would run estimates back and schedule a second follow-up appointment to hand them to people and sell a project. Now, when you think about that now, it sounds stupid and silly that we went through that much effort to sell a construction project back in the 90s, when now you sit back and go, oh my God, I couldn't even imagine. It's like, it's taboo now for somebody not to have an email address. So I'll meet like 90-year-olds, 80-year-olds that are clients of ours that they don't have emails, and say, you know what, just send it to my daughter's email. And they already have their daughter's or their son's email memorized because they understand that they can get it from them, even though they themselves don't know how to utilize it. but it's even becoming very rare that a 70, 80, 90-year-old anymore doesn't have an email and doesn't know how to use them. It's a rare commodity. It's taboo, meaning that it doesn't exist almost at all anymore, that people don't have them. And as the internet was to us in 1996, crypto will be to us here in 2021. And in the future, it's going to become a regular currency. And so if you're not paying attention to it, it's going to pass you by. And you're going to get affected by it. And you're going to be part of the masses when you can be on the receiving end of it. And so all I'm telling you is, if I'm looking into it, it's because the world is moving in that direction. I'm slow to the game as well. I'll tell you that, but we're still early to the game now if you get on board. And so it's going to affect how real estate is purchased, real estate is sold, how title companies do business, and even investing. The SEC, we're setting things up right now because we know that the Securities Department and the SEC is going to be looking at it going, okay, we got to figure out how to regulate this. So instead of fighting it, saying, hey, we don't need to deal with SEC, we say, you know what, let's just pretend it's cash, but let's exercise it through electronic currencies so that we know that we have our legalities dialed in. But what's cool for real estate is the fact that you can invest in a piece of real estate and you can trade out of a coin very easily, and somebody can go and sell their portion of a project off and cash out of it mid-term of the project, and it doesn't affect our project. It just gets picked up by somebody else. And so there's a lot to it. I don't want to sit here and pretend to be the expert that I'm not when it comes to cryptocurrency. The whole point of conversation is more so to understand that you have to be opening to pivot and to making adjustments in the market as the world evolves, because the world is evolving, ladies and gentlemen. And so nonetheless, stay current, invest wisely, and never be afraid of change. Change is good. You're either affected by it or you become the person who takes advantage of it. Be the one on the profiting end and take advantage of it and continue compounding your success.